Hello and good evening, everyone. Myself Deepesh. I'm a current student of the Digital Enterprise batch. Thank you all for attending the session. We have with us here today Dr. Y. Shekhar, in charge for Center of Digital Enterprise at IMU, Professor Rajesh Agarwal, Chairperson, 1 year Programs Office, 1 year MBA Programs Office, and Koshika Sharma, who is an IMU alumni of the GACM batch. So during the session, we will present a walkthrough of the DM course, at the end of which we will answer questions that you have for us. Please type in any questions that you have during or after the presentation in the Q&A window and not in the chat, please. So with that, I'll hand over the session to Koshika, and I hope you all find the session interactive and very informative. So give me 1 minute, I'll just share my screen. Koshika, you can
Hey,
start now.
Dipesh, thank you. Dipesh, could you please go to the next slide, please? So before we take a dive and run you all through what IIM Udaipur and the DEM program offers to its students, I will briefly talk about what the digital world holds for all of us. So the pre-digital era was a time of, high-touch work, manual jobs, high wait times, low efficiencies, very limited customer.
Can't hear you.
Can you guys not hear me now still? Hey, Dipesh, can you hear me? Dipesh, Rajesh, Shekhar.
You're audible to me, Koshika.
Oh, okay. All right, so I'll just move forward. Rajesh, let me know if you still can't hear me well. Okay, so the pre-digital era was, as I was saying, was a time of high-touch manual jobs, low efficiencies, very limited customer behavioral insights, and a time when people actually had, people like us, we had to go to a ticketing center to actually to book a reservation. Now, in the late 90s, please go ahead, Dipesh. Next click, please. Yep, thank you. So in the late 90s and 2000s, the industry and the specialists, what they started actively highlighting the needs and benefits of digitalization and engaging in digital transformation related activities. So this is our current world, world where we are right now, where we have increasing automation, real-time communication, on-demand services, data-driven insights, and all of this has pretty much become a way of our life. So now when we talk about these digital transformation today as what it's happening, we also need to understand what is the path forward, or where is it going to lead us? So we already are seeing green shoots of digital experiences like behavioral insights, uh, data interoperability, personalized customer experience, to name a few. And all these experiences and events that are events that are getting introduced to us in this new world are relating individually and at the end of it to interconnected devices, a holistic customer digital consumer experiences underlined with the need for high speed. Could you please go to the next slide, please? No, thanks, Dipesh. So to sustain this transformation, the future managers need to have an understanding of automation, agile technologies. We should be also be able to enhance the user experience. Deepesh, you can just click on a few more here. So you should be able to click, sorry about that, too many clicks here. So you should be able to enhance the user experience through the art of storytelling, personalized content, and data-driven insights. Please click on Dipesh, all of them. Yeah, thank you. And all of this should be well supported by the ability to manage risks and uncertainties. So now, many of you who are here on the discussion today may be aware of digital technologies, or many might not be aware of what is digital, like what are digital technologies, or what is it all about. So from my own experience, I can say one thing, that when I joined IIM Udaipur, I was part of the fashion industry essentially. So when I joined the course, I came from fashion industry, and I've underwent a transformational journey as a student of IIM Udaipur. And currently I'm a successful digital change manager. So it doesn't really mean what is exactly your background, whether or not you understand digital, but what matters is how the college and the program puts things together for you and enhances your understanding and the ability to move forward. Thank you. Passing on to Rajesh, who's the chairperson for the 1 year MBA programs at IIM Udaipur.
Thank you very much, Koshika. That was a wonderful introduction to the fascinating world of digital. I would like to share with you that IIM Udaipur was set up in 2011, and in a very short span of 9 years, the institute has been able to, achieve several milestones, has been able to bag several international credentials and accolades, right? We are youngest in the world in many areas. We are fastest in the world in many areas. We are the fastest in the country to receive an accreditation from AACSB, which is a very prestigious accreditation for a business school. I would like to mention that only 5% of the business schools in the world have this accreditation, and that means quality, right? Now, in addition to this accreditation, we also have the QS World University Ranking, which we are the, again, youngest in the world to be featuring in this ranking, both in 2020 as well as 2021 ranking, which is already out. This also is a testimony that, we are performing very well academically. But I'm very proud to talk about the ranking of Financial Times, which is the most prestigious ranking of the what we call Masters in Management program. So we feature in the top 100 in the world in this ranking, both in 2019 as well as 2020. You can see that in 2020, there are only 4 institutions from India who feature in this. So we are the, in addition to IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, and Calcutta, we are the only other IIM to feature in this prestigious financial international credential issue of learning outcome very seriously. And that is why we have been able to achieve these rankings. These are testimony of that. Now, IIM Udaipur is very clearly able to see visualize the fact that digital is the future, right? You would agree that going forward, as Kaushika nicely charted out right at the beginning of the webinar, that digital is the future. To be able to take advantage of this emerging opportunity, the Institute has set up a Center for Digital Enterprise so that we can run the one-year MBA program very effectively under the guidance and support of CDE. Now, to do so, we have entered into very powerful set of partnerships with the industry. Now, what does that partnership do with the industry is that it gives us the ideas to deliver a program which is relevant, which is meaningful, and we bring the real life issues of the industry to the classroom so that industry is engaged with us throughout in the designing, delivery, and everything else that is required to deliver a high quality program. So you can see that the Institute is taking this issue extremely seriously. Next slide, please. Now, we believe that attending the program of MBA in Digital Enterprise Management offers the prospective participants with a unique and a great opportunity to be a part of this new movement called digital world. You would agree with us that the businesses that we do and the way we do businesses have all changed significantly over the years, and more so in this current year. And this is going to be the order of the day going forward, right? The wave of technological change has disrupted businesses and brought about disruption at a scale which is unprecedented. Now, what it does, that some people's industries lament about it, but others can smell an opportunity in this wave. And we urge you to be a part of this opportunity set that is right ahead of you called digital, right? We believe that one-year MBA program is a unique and a wonderful opportunity ahead of you, where we want you to look at everything from a business and management lens. The backbone is technology, but we want you to look at everything from a business lens and a management lens. So here we have designed a program which is unique because you learn the fundamentals of management, but the context is digital, right? Now, very briefly talking to you about how do you be a part of this program? Well, you have to have a valid GRE or a GMAT score, or you have written your CAT examination in 2018 or 19, or even 2020. You have to have at least 3 years of full-time work experience. This program is a full-time program, on-campus program. And at the end of the program, when you successfully qualify all the courses, you get an MBA degree. And as Kaushika mentioned, she came from a fashion industry background, and she is a successful manager at a senior level in a digital organization. So what is required is your passion and interest in digital. And as a result, we welcome graduates in any discipline who are interested in the field of digital to apply. While engineers are very welcome, I'm sure a lot of engineers apply, but even those who are non-engineers are very welcome to apply in this program. Next slide, please. Now, let me briefly talk to you about the DEM program design. As I mentioned to you a while ago, that in this program, our approach is to look at the technology from a management lens, from a business lens, right? That's the most important thing. At this end of the program, you don't become a technical expert. You become an expert who can appreciate the business issues, the business decision-making issues in the context of technology and data and digital, right? How can you harness the capability of technology? How can your decision-making, strategic decision-making improve, right? So let me walk you quickly through the pyramid that is ahead of you. So first of all, in this program, you are introduced to the concepts, the fundamentals of business management as would be taught in any other program, right? So you are aware about the business fundamentals. Then as you move the pyramid, then you see that we teach you how these business concepts are applied in the digital organization, focusing on emerging concepts, practices, methods, right? So then you start appreciating the digital world. And then move up further on the pyramid, then you see we are talking about data and technology. When we say anything digital, what are we talking about? At the heart of digital is data and technology, right? So the participants start appreciating the role and the relevance of data and technology in the digital world. How technologies are involved in creating, managing, and analyzing data. What is your role? How can you leverage them, right? And then having done that, there comes the opportunity of applying it to the real life industry verticals. You have range of industry verticals where you have to apply these concepts. For example, how can we apply the digital concepts in retail industry or healthcare or manufacturing or fintech? Whole host of industries is where you apply these concepts. And then it's important to dirty your hands and do projects to get the real feel of what happens in the organization. So that you do through series of simulations, lab project, real life company project. You will be able to assimilate these concepts, apply these concepts holistically and comprehensively. So you can see that the concept of management and digital is very well enmeshed. And then at the end of the program, you are a manager of, become capable of managing a digital enterprise. Next slide, please. So I talked about those 5 areas in the pyramid in the previous slide. Here you can see in this slide that under each of those sections, what are the courses that you will be doing. I'm not going to read out to them. You're very welcome to visit our website and take a look at the courses. So for example, if you were to look at business management fundamentals, you can see a whole host of courses are there in the business fundamentals, management fundamentals. And then likewise, fundamentals of digital management, there are courses, right? So here is a list of courses that are available that will be taught to you across these 5 broad areas, including projects. Next slide, please, Dipesh. Now, we have taken this content of this program, the delivery of this program, extremely seriously. When I say seriously, what I mean is that the content and the delivery of the program has to be extremely meaningful and relevant. Now, from where the relevance will come? Unless we talk to, we partner with industry. And that's the reason we have set up an advisory board consisting of very senior people of the industry who are constantly guiding us with respect to the design of the program, delivery of the program, placement issues, and whole host of issues. Which is a unique thing that IIM Udaipur has done, is to have an advisory board, has a linkage with the industry, right? And you can see that we have very senior professionals, including some of the chief executive officers of some of the leading companies in the country. Say, for example, from management consulting, we have representation from Accenture and Deloitte. From technology company, we have IBM. Consumer-facing companies such as Star TV and Kimberly-Clark. Startups or platform players such as Quicker, Infoage, and Flipkart. And on top of that, from within the institute, we have the dean of the business school on the advisory board, and one faculty member who is also the governing board member of the institute, who is also a part of the advisory board. So it's a power-packed advisory board from industry and academia to guide us through the conceptualization and the delivery of the program, right? So move to the next slide, please. Now, as I said, it is not only for the sake of having an advisory board. It is an advisory board which has to regularly, constantly guide in the areas of knowledge sharing, research, projects, campus placement, etc. Let me give a couple of examples. With the help of these industry partners, our faculty members are able to visit these companies, digital companies, and write cases. What happens when you write cases from these industries? We are able to bring the real life to the classroom. Faculty members are able to bring the latest innovation in the field of digital, the best practices that are applied by some of these cutting edge companies to the classroom, so that our content is most recent, latest, and relevant to the needs of the industry. There's no point delivering a program which is dated and old fashioned and outdated. And that is the reason the industry academia alliance helps us in terms of bringing everything current, right? As far as research is concerned, with the help of the industry, we are able to publish jointly in the internationally reviewed publications and in the journals. Likewise, some of the industry professionals come and teach in this program. For example, one of the programs is taught by IBM professionals, right? So we have not limited our design, conceptualization, and delivery by anything that has happened in the past. The institute has taken risks in a positive sense of experimenting and doing what it takes to deliver a high quality program. So we are very proud of this industry academia alliance so that we can deliver what is meaningful and relevant. Next slide, please. I would now invite Dipesh Kaushik, who is himself a participant of this program, to share some of his thoughts about what does he think is about the experience in the program. So over to you, Dipesh.
Thank you, Rajesh sir. So hello to everyone once again. So as you know, I'm a student of the current DM batch. So talking about my experience so far, I'll begin with the academic aspect. So as part of the a huge portion of the course is quite heavily dependent on us applying the concepts on ourselves. So whatever concept that you learn in class, you will get to experience them, because you'll have to do your own research and you'll have to do multiple minor academic projects throughout the course. So we have done it. We have done all of this in groups and individually as well during term 1. and we have many lined up in term 2 and term 3 as well. And another thing which is there is the design thinking. Now design thinking forms a huge portion of this course. What I would like to point out is design thinking is a very challenging course in the sense that it is new to almost everyone, and it also challenges your both the creative and your quantitative talents as well. And as part of this course, the only way to learn design thinking is by doing it. So we take on real life projects for real companies as part of this design thinking program. And currently I'm working as well for a company with my own group, so this is something which all the students will be able to experience. So that is the experiential learning part of the program. And then moving on to the complementary aspects of this, so I felt like there is a certain readiness that is required to be a good fit for the corporate culture that most of us are going to be part of, and the business industry most of us are going to be part of. So for that, a lot of profile presentation and preparation is required. We are going through this program throughout. We have gone through this program through till now, and it's a year-long program. So you get to highlight your strengths and skills, and you get to understand like which industry would you prefer to be in after you pass out of the college, right? Now another thing which was a real standout experience for me was the personalized executive coaching. So this is something which we are having, all of us are having a one-on-one session with executive coaches. They are experts in experts in coaching industry leaders and CXOs. And what basically goes on in these sessions is you really get to understand like the behavioral aspect that is needed to be a leader in the industry, right? So you get to understand what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and how to address those weaknesses, and to present yourself, to present your story and brand to the outside world, who can act and make the best out of it, right? Now if you so we have our presence. The course has a very active presence on social media. So you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. So if you have been following us there, you would probably know that a DEM program has a lot of interaction with industry leaders. So we invite in industry leaders, and we get to hear from people who actually belong in the field, and hear from them what exactly is actually going on. So it's a overall package. You get to apply the concepts that you learn during the course in your projects, and then you get to experience a complete transformational experience in your career. And you also get to hear the batch too. So with that, I'll hand over the session to Vaishekar sir. So Vaishekar sir, can you please continue?
Sure. Thank you very much, Deepesh, and a very warm welcome to all the participants. Um, I represent the Center for Digital Enterprise, which was conceived towards the end of 2018. The center has its own set of objectives, one of them being uh, running this particular program. But the larger perspective is to drive the entire uh, uh, activities in the direction of digital, which is highly evolving, as Koshika presented in the opening slides, that the drift has taken place. We are experiencing it on a daily basis. How do we therefore convert that into a learning where we become better managers and leaders in future? That's the kind of context in which the center was formed. The course has started. We actually wanted to start it on campus, but due to COVID, we had to start the initial program online. It continues to be delivered online. A lot of adjustments were made on account of that, but at no point of time was the intensity lowered or the kind of rigor that is expected to be provided in this kind of a course diluted for any reason. So the experience that Deepesh is talking about is something that is going to be an all-encompassing. You learn concepts, you put them into practice through projects and simulations, as well as through workshops. You listen to people from the industry coming and speaking to you. While all this is happening, which could happen in a typical management institute, what's unique to this particular program, besides the curriculum, is that the students are actually treated as potential managers who need to be guided or need to be aware of themselves of dealing with uncertainties. That's why we bring in this concept of executive coaching. Typically, executive coaching is a session or a series of sessions that the top management in an organization goes through, preparing themselves to take decisions in unfamiliar environment, which is what we are now witnessing on account of COVID. Nobody was prepared for COVID. You had to redesign your entire business activity. What's right, what's wrong, what kind of decisions to make. These are the kinds of challenges the top management faces. We are bringing that same experience through certified executive coaches to the students so that they are now getting in tune to know how to deal with uncertainty. As part of that, there is another team that works with the students in the capacity of grooming them. You need to develop yourself in multiple dimensions. And that is what this program is actually building you towards. For instance, digital is a combination of the left brain and right brain, if I were to use that. There is a lot of analysis or analytics that's spoken about. But at the same time, there's an extensive amount of creativity that is required. The confluence of the two is where the impact of digital is really felt. And that is the kind of skill that the students have to get exposed to. So it is in that context, we have lined up certain projects. These projects are from the industry, and these are intense projects. When I say intense projects, these take sufficient amount of time and effort for the students to work with them and solve a business problem that is real life. So unlike a typical student or college environment of doing a project, which is something that your previous batch had done, or something that was already solved, but you're just getting the experience of it. Here, you're actually going through the rigor of understanding the concept, finding out the relevance, understanding what needs to be done, figuring out through your networks how it needs to be solved, solving it, coming back with your findings, and then defending your entire activity. So at the end of this particular project, there are two projects that the students would be doing. Every student is expected to do. The student actually becomes a lot more familiar with the problems that managers are actually facing in the industry, and therefore the kinds of approaches that are possible to solve these problems. For instance, there are projects on technology. We define technology as the application of technology in the context of business. So given a particular industry, and within that industry, a business process, how do you automate that business or that particular function using technologies like artificial intelligence or blockchain or IoT to derive benefits? In doing so, what kind of parameters have you considered? What kind of trade-offs did you experience? What kind of return on investment can you envisage? Those become the managerial aspect. So the idea of using, say, an AI in a banking environment, or a blockchain in a real estate environment, or using an IoT for improving production efficiency or traceability of your supply chain items, is not to look at it from a technology perspective. It's to look at it from a business perspective as to where the advantages can be derived. And therefore, you will become familiar through the classroom sessions how to deal with these technologies. And through the project, you will actually experience how businesses solve these kind of problems using technology. So it is clearly a coming together of business and technology at the same point. The other set is analytics, which is what most people associate digital with. Now, when we were also scouting around and understanding what the term digital means, many of them said, oh, digital means data, and therefore data means analytics. And where do we bring in digital? Therefore, we say there is a course in marketing, and in marketing, we take one topic called digital marketing, and that's what digital is. DEM isn't that way. DEM actually looks at the business from the lens of digital or technology, which Professor Rajesh mentioned in his presentation. Take technology off, there is no business. That's how your Amazons, Flipkart, and Uber and all the others work. They cannot work without technology. In such kind of organizations, how does the product manager work? What kind of data is used? Does somebody know what kind of data is required to take certain decisions? That's what this course actually helps you deal with. So when you're dealing with analytics, you're actually dealing with large and complex set of data. Using that, you have to find patterns given the context of the problem to understand whether it is a customer relating issue, it's a product relating issue, it's a business relating issue, and how do you therefore draw inferences from the data that you've got to analyze. And this is where the decision making happens, whether it is strategic in nature. Strategic could be that you could figure out certain patterns of either the product usage or price points, or how the behavior of the customer has been, to figuring out that there is an opportunity for a new product to get launched, or an associated product to be offered, or combining multiple products to make it into one set of products as complementing products. So what you would typically learn as concepts in the business schools are now getting applied in the digital context by using data. That's where analytics comes in. And the projects that you're seeing on the screen are projects that this batch is actually engaged in doing. So we would be happy to answer any more questions on the project side, but some of the other details are there on the screen for you to look at. The idea of projects is to give you hands-on experience on how to solve business problems in the digital world. They may not be similar to the problems that the non-digital industry or non-digital world experienced. So that's what this project is all about. And therefore, doing all these things, concept, project, simulation, experience, all that learning that you go through, what does it make you good at? In the digital world, you are good to be a business analyst. You're good to be a program manager. Program manager is a role that typically the consulting companies use, where you have to help your clients understand how they make a transformation. And therefore, what kind of changes need to be managed. A project manager is a typical role where you are into a development environment, or creating a new service or product, or working on certain parameters which require you to be very agile, which requires you to be working with diverse teams, a skill set of people who otherwise will not form part of one team. So you would have storytellers, you would have people who would document, and people who would code, people who would test, people who would actually look at commercials, all being part of one team. So how do you deal with these kind of people within your projects to manage them? And of course, product management in the digital world is becoming very crucial. Products change very, very rapidly in the digital world, unlike the traditional world. Uh, just to give you an example, a new product launch used to be an 18-month cycle in the past. That's reduced to months and weeks now, thanks to the way Amazon, Google, and Flipkart and those kind of companies work. Two, products are also becoming categories. You may have a range of products in one category, and you have to manage them, be it pricing, be it on the delivery side, be it on the sourcing side, be it on the customer experience side, or it could be right across all these areas. And this is again typically different in the digital world, in the product management environment, as compared to the traditional. In traditional, people looked at product management as a role where positioning of the product was given importance. Here, positioning is taken for granted. You have to look at customer behavior or the customer experience on one side, your suppliers' experience on the other side. You have to look at your own value chain in terms of how people, process, and technology come together to deliver an overall experience that is enriching. So it's a very complex role that's emerging from product management. All four of them use data extensively. They're all highly technology oriented, driven by data. That's what this helps you. If you look at the job descriptions that have been collated, it doesn't talk about one skill. For instance, you have an analytical mind and manage ambiguity. Remember, I told you why students are being coached. Why is that executive coaching being offered? That is to help deal with ambiguity. At the same time, if you see the other job which talks about use of analytics, etc., it is not just dealing with data. It is to actually draw inferences from these data to see patterns and what kind of narrative do you come through that. This was something that Kaushika presented in her slides too, where storytelling becomes very, very important. Storytelling is not that you're drawing a movie and it's fiction. You're saying that from these facts, what kind of inferences can you draw which become relevant for the business or relevant for decision making in the context that you are working on. So your communication skills, your ability to look at big picture, from there draw to the point of reference, all become very important. And that's how this whole course is structured, for you to connect up very well in a fast changing world. Dipesh, over to you, and I'll be happy to be in the question answer session.
Still have to talk about the last slide.
Okay, so this is something very close to me. Um, so why did we look at them? I mean, you can read what's there as the features, but we believe that the future is all about digital. In every sense of it, digital is going to make a big impact. We are already seeing it in the COVID period, where people suddenly moved from their traditional ways of doing to getting online. Our work from home concept is enabled because of digitalization. So this course is actually dealing with these kind of scenarios from a concept to execution perspective. And therefore, this course becomes very, very unique. There is no other course in the world, I would venture to say, that is similar to what we are teaching at IIM Udaipur. There are courses which talk about digital as one of those elements in the subject, whereas this is very, very comprehensive right across every aspect. When you're studying economics, when you're studying organization and behavior, you're studying multi-sided platform style business, they're all about digital. This course is taking you closer to an aspirational degree. So this leads you to the degree of MBA. It's a one-year MBA program that has been conceptualized, and IIM Udaipur actually offers this as a degree course. We believe and we knew that something like this, which is cutting edge, very new, uncharted in terms of prior experience by any other institute, a course like this can be driven only when we have a close collaboration with the industry, because a large portion of the experience comes from the recency factor. And that is where the industry participation is very significant in this program. A little while ago, Rajesh also spoke about the Industry Alliance. We have entered into MOU with about 12 organizations, and the number keeps changing over a period of time. And we also have, as you saw, the advisory board, which is all people from the industry, to tell us, what is relevant, how should we deliver it, what kind of an experience should the student go through, how deep should the rigor be. So right now, one of the criticisms, if I were to say, about this course is that, are we trying to pack in too much? So that's something this course is talking about. But at the same time, when we speak to the industry, they are eager to say, can you add a little more too? Because that's how quickly things are changing. And we are part of that evolving process in this industry association, to try and see how new things can be brought in. For instance, there's an organization which enables non-software coders or non-developers to actually sit and develop mobile applications and websites. So this is one of the elements of the future that we are trying to bring in into the course and the experience that students go through. Of course, IMU is very prestigious, as was presented to you earlier. And as you see, as far as the rankings are concerned, so you are not, in a safe and a prestigious place where you're learning something which is very cutting edge and something that is relevant for the future. We believe that the overall course is very transformational. It doesn't matter what your background has been. Once you come into this course, you feel the change, you experience the change that prepares you to become a manager, to deal with uncertainties, to deal with data, to deal with technology, and of course, to lead people. So that's what the design of this course is, and we believe it is one of the best that you can get at this point of time.
Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you, Shekhar sir. So now we'll be taking the questions. So we have a few questions already. Uh, okay, so we have a question from Siva Sandeep. So his question is, I have done my BTech degree on leather technology from Anna University. Since my background is not known to many people, does this pose a problem for my DEM program admission? So,
Dipesh,
Raj,
let me take
hello?
this. Can you
Yeah,
hear
yeah.
me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
This question? So as we mentioned that what is important is your interest in the field of digital, and you have to have a bachelor degree in any discipline. So the fact that you have a BTech degree in leather technology is absolutely fine. As I said, it doesn't matter as to what is your degree in. You are absolutely eligible, and we'd encourage you to apply if you are interested in the field of digital.
Sir,
Siva, I hope that answered your question. Just to add to that, in our current batch, which is the batch that Dipesh is in, there is a student who's from the sports background. There are students who are from commerce background. There are students who are from creative side. So the background qualification is not a big concern. As long as you have the ability and the interest to understand how digital technology works, and you have the aptitude to actually dealing with technology. So perhaps you could do this particular course and see how it can impact the leather industry, where very little has been done in terms of technology.
yes, sir. So, everyone, just a small request. So please put your questions in the Q&A, whatever questions you have, and I'll take your questions one by one. So the next question is from Khushnud. So his question is, sir, I am currently running a startup in EdTech. It is just an initial stage. Can I cope with course curriculum while part-time working on my own startup?
So let me answer this question. As we mentioned, that this program is a full-time program. So if you decide to apply for this program and if you're offered an admission, you will not be able to participate in anything else. So if you are thinking that you will continue your startup as a part-time and also attend this program, that will not be a viable option. That will not be possible because we expect your full-time involvement in the program. Right? I hope that clarifies the question.
Shekhar sir, would you like to add something to that?
No, I think it is well expressed here. The program is intense. It is rigorous. It will not give you time for any other thing, which I think Dipesh can answer the best in this group as a part of the experience. It's left to you, because we would not be concerned whether you're in a startup or you're doing something there. The program doesn't leave you with any much time.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir. So the next question is for Shekhar sir only, sir. So can you please, so this question is from Hema. Could you please provide placement details of the companies which have visited this year or are going to visit this year for this program? And what is the average salary that they are offering and what managerial roles they are providing to the students?
Hema, thanks for asking this question. Unfortunately, we are entering the placement cycle in the month of November towards the fag end, post Diwali. We will have real data to answer this question at that point of time. Right now, I can only say the industry is interested. They are in touch with us. Various kinds of industries are in touch with us, and the placement cell is interacting with them. But it is too early to answer your question in terms of average salary and role, but we will get to know that soon. Please give us time to answer this question once this process starts.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is from Raj. So he says he has taken GRE in August 2017 and he was unable to take the exam due to COVID. So can he apply?
So we require a valid GRE or a valid GMAT score. I would encourage you to write to the admissions office and check, share your transcript and check whether your score of GRE 2017 is valid or not.
I hope, Raj, that answers your question. So I'll move on to the next one. So it's Kunal. So Kunal's question is regarding the opportunity to publish papers to CDE. Are DEM students allowed or are able to contribute to the research initiatives? And are there any ongoing research projects in CDE at this time?
So let me answer that. As far as research is concerned, you need to be a research scholar. As a student of the DEM program, honestly, you will have very little time to engage on any such activities. If it is interesting and it drives your purpose, we can kind of facilitate you, but you need to be a research scholar to actually be involved in paper writing. You can, of course, publish papers as a management student, but not the kind of papers that we talk in the academic sense. These are papers like articles you can write on the blog or in a periodical outside. But the real research paper needs you to be in the area of research.
I hope that answers your question, Kunal. So there are a few people who are asking about the average GRE and GMAT scores that would be required for the admission to the program. So, Rajesh sir, would you like to answer that question?
Right. So what I would like to mention is that we look at your candidature history, where your GMAT or a GRE or a CAT score is just one of the inputs. Look at your profile and also you appear in a personal interview. And all these inputs put together, the admissions committee takes a decision on who is offered an admission. So I would like to encourage you to apply. And because I said we don't want to look at only one aspect of your score.
Rajesh sir, can you maybe adjust your mic a little bit? Your voice is a little bit muffled, I think.
So can you hear me now better?
Yes, it's better now.
Okay, so I said that while deciding who to offer an admission, we look at a variety of considerations, one of which is the GMAT score. So we look at your GMAT, GRE, or a CAT score, your kind of experience, and your profile, and also your interview. And all that put together is your decision made whether a person has to be offered an admission or not. We don't have a minimum cutoff, so to say, that we look at.
Yeah, so I'll just add to that. So what we are saying in effect is that your overall personality, which is your scores, your performance in your academic side, your work experience, your ability to communicate, your social interactions, all these matter. So it is not a single point that determines whether you're in or out of this particular program. So unlike a PGP program or the other management programs where cutoffs become the order of the day, we look at the overall development because this course needs that kind of an ability.
Thank you, sir. I hope it answers his question. So next question is from Amit. So Amit would like to know that he has 13 years of work experience and is very much interested in this area, though mostly working in SAP. He has done his certification in blockchain and having a course on data science course as well. So he's very much interested, but he wants to know whether his experience of 13 years is a negative or is it a neutral for this for admission to this course.
You want to take it?
Shall I answer? Amit, typically 8 to 12 years is what we look at the bracket of the senior profiles. This is how the industry looks at it. It does not mean that anything more than 12 is not looked into. In a sense, you're eligible to apply. But if you have expectations of placement or certain kinds of compensation that you feel are essential for you to look at this particular course, you may have to consider all that as a factor before looking at applying into this course. Your batchmates may be much younger. The current average work experience of the batch is close to 6 years. So you're definitely an outlier in that sense. But over a period of time, we do expect, the class average to increase. So it's a call you need to take. If you need any further information, please feel free to write to us. We'll guide you there.
Thank you, sir. So Vinay has a question. I'd like to answer that question. So he asks if computer background is mandatory or not for the course. So Vinay, what I'll tell you is, it's not. It's not. So I'm an electrical engineer. I have been working in IT, but I am doing this course. And not only that, so we have people from commerce and sales operations as well. So I hope this answers your question. It's not a mandatory background necessary for this course. So, okay. So the next question is from Vasu. So he's appearing for CAT 2020, but he has a score for CAT 2019. So he's asking, should he apply now with 2019 score or wait for the CAT 2020 results to come out and apply then?
I would like to answer that. So also I would encourage you to apply with your 2019 scores because you already have a score that we consider as valid for the purpose of this program. So go ahead and apply with 19 score.
Thank you, sir. So moving on to the next question. Okay, so this question is from Hema. She wants to know when is the campus opening or whether the course will be online.
So let me answer that. Hema, every time we talk about the course, it is intended to be on campus, and therefore we keep putting an asterisk. It is not a decision that we can independently take. We need clearances from the authorities. Once they give us the clearance, we will move everything to on campus. Therefore, placements will also move to on campus as long as people who are involved in the placement from the industry have their permissions in place. For instance, I'm sure you may be aware, most multinationals have told their employees not to get into office or travel until March or June periods. So in such cases, those people who work for such organizations will not be able to come to the campus for placement. They will have to do it online. So from our perspective, we are constantly preparing ourselves for on campus as well as online. And once we get the permissions, we would want to move everything to on campus.
Thank you, sir. Next question would be from Ajit. He wants to know what kind of digital tools we are going to learn in this course. So I'd like to answer that question, sir, if it is fine by you. So Ajit, it's basically, it would be helpful for us if you could point out what digital tools you're talking about. I can talk from my experience. So we've had to learn programming languages basically a little bit, not too deep into it, mostly because we have to understand the business aspect. So we have learned R, and personally the projects, some of the projects do require some tool knowledge. That is for, I can talk about myself. So I'm having to learn a bit of Power BI and Tableau. So that is what because that is a bit of a requirement for the projects. So and we have courses on IoT and blockchain as well. So if that answers your question, I hope it answers your question. So Shekhar sir, would you like to add anything to that?
Thank you, Deepesh. Ajit, the idea is not so much about the tool. Um, it is more about the application. So, as a format, the faculty decides what the class will learn in terms of tools or applications or whatever it is. So, in the current batch, students have done activities around R. Some of them have done it on Python. When they get onto the project, they may use open source tools, including coding in Java. The idea is not so much on the tool or the coding aspect. So when you work as a team, somebody in the team would be doing the coding and somebody else would be doing the inferences or the implications of it. But collectively, the team has to understand what it means. So this is not an area of skilling, it's an area of learning knowledge or developing knowledge. So we encourage you to look at it in terms of saying whatever be the technology, you will be able to deal with it as long as you have an open mind towards it.
Thank you, sir. So another question that we have is, uh, can uh, can a person apply with unofficial GMAT score if the final scores are awaited from GMAT? So I'd start off answering this question, sir. So I think you need an official GMAT scorecard. So I don't think unofficial GMAT score is allowed right now. So, but I'd suggest you send a mail to the programs office, and you'll get a clearer answer. I think you need an official scorecard from GMAT before you apply, before you fill up your form.
So out of curiosity, Dipesh, what is unofficial score of GMAT?
Actually, sir, the score comes first I mean, yeah, the score comes when you finish your examination, and the official breakdown, the one which you have to submit to the B school admission form, that comes after 3 or 4 weeks. So I think it has to be an official scorecard.
Okay. So what comes immediately after you take the examination is not a breakup. It's only the final
Uh,
score.
yeah, it's just the final score. You don't get your admission ID, and you just get a simple printout. So
No, but
that's so.
it's a total score or it has the breakup also.
It has a breakup, sir, but that is not considered to be an official one. So that is schools
Okay.
generally don't take it.
Okay.
So this is something which the programs office can maybe contact and then
Sure.
confirm it. Yeah.
Sure. So that was
So
Kunal, right? Who's
uh, no, actually, this question is the I can't see the attendee name here actually.
okay?
Yeah. So the next question is from Vasu sir. So the question is, on the website, there are 4 admission cycles to apply for. Will the person applying in the 4th cycle will be at any disadvantage?
Vasu, there is no disadvantage or advantage of applying early or late. So you can apply in the cycle that you think suits you the best.
Thank you, sir. I think we have answered all the questions that we have now. If you
There are more
don't,
questions.
I
Deepesh, there are a
see. I
couple of
see a
you.
couple
Yeah.
of questions still unanswered.
okay, 1 minute. Oh, okay. Sorry, my screen did not refresh. Okay, so this question is from Kunal. So could you please provide more information into the expanse of the projects? Are students required to create only the business plans and reports, or are they subjected to implementing them as well?
So let me take that, Kunal. These are projects where, depending on the problem that is being defined, you have to come up with a working solution. So when I say working solution, it could be a proof of concept, It could be an outcome that you can demonstrate to the panel and say how it is going to work and what is the kind of benefit it therefore offers. So it is not paper writing. It is not conceptual. It is practical. And that is where the experience comes into play. So you can use all the secondary data or sources of information to get a better understanding of the concept, the context, and also what kind of problems it can solve. But you have to show through your work how you solve the problem. So if I were to take an example that one of the projects is in analytics, which looks at customer experience, and it relates to customer experience. You have to show how with data you're able to pinpoint, saying that by doing this, this is the kind of shift in the customer experience that is likely to happen. That's how intense these projects are. I hope you got an understanding of it. There is similarly another one, which is, I think, in the sports industry using NLP. So you have to actually demonstrate your algorithm, how you're using your algorithm to predict. And therefore, you're using this whole concept of how does an organization use text to automate, and through automation provide responses to their customers very, very quickly. So it involves work. It is not just writing a concept saying that somebody will have an algorithm and somebody will do something like this and the whole system will work. You have to demonstrate it.
Yes, sir. So may I add a little bit to the question, sir? So regarding I talked about the minor projects that we are doing during the academic projects. So recently we had to do a project, the analytics project. You have to execute and you have to do a data pre-cleaning and pre-processing, and then you have to show the results and then present to the professor, right? So in that way, if you put it that way, then you have to actually implement and display the results as well. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, sir. We have more questions, sir. So, okay. So another question is the wants to know about the current batch strength and will it increase or will it increase for the next batch?
So Dipesh, you're the best to answer.
Yeah. The current batch strength is 15. Right now we are 15 students. And regarding the increase, Shekhar sir or Rajesh sir, you want to answer that part of the question?
Right. So let me take this, that while the persons who were admitted in the program were larger number we had, but on account of COVID, some students decided to defer their admission to the next academic year. Some had to withdraw from the program because of some of the challenges at the family level they had. So next year, we are hoping to get a bigger batch size. Don't know what the batch size would be, but we hope to get a batch size which is larger than the current batch.
Thank you, sir. So one question from Kunal. So besides the requirements mentioned on the website, are there any specific things that the admissions committee is looking for in a prospective participant in the program?
So let me answer that. And also, I would like to take the opportunity of answering one more question. Somebody was asking about the eligibility. So all we are looking for is a person who is a graduate in any discipline, 3 years of full-time work experience, and has a valid GMAT, GRE, or a CAT score. And then the person applies. And if the person gets shortlisted, then there's an interview set up, and that's about it. So we are not, it's not any more, much more complicated than what it is mentioned in the website. So to answer it again, that we are looking at these eligibility considerations and overall profile in the interview process to take a final decision.
Sure, sir. Thank you. And the next question is from Khushnud. So he says he's working on his startup since last 6 months and willing to apply for this program. So will it be fine according to the admission process if he applies without closing his startup? and completes the full-time course. So he has a total work experience of 4 years and 3 years multiple startups, including his own.
Let me take this. So we will need an undertaking from you, a written undertaking that you will not be involved in any activity during the program. So if the startup is managed by your other family members, friends, colleagues, or partners, you don't have a problem, but you cannot be involved in anything because that's the undertaking we need from you to be fully engaged in the program because it's a full-time program. It's important to appreciate that this is a full-time program. We want your full involvement in the program. And that's the reason we need an undertaking from you that you are not engaged in anything else.
Okay, thank you, sir. So there is another question regarding the application process. So 1 minute. Yeah. So person wants to know that if he's unsuccessful in a previous round, can he apply in subsequent rounds for the same academic session?
That's not possible. If you are declared unsuccessful in any round, you cannot apply in the subsequent round of the same academic year. However, you can apply in the next academic year.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. So Ajit has a question. So he was working with travel tech startup for 3 months and fintech for 6 months. Does it put a negative effect on the part of I left? Okay. Ajit, did you leave the companies? I think, did you leave the companies after working there for 3 months and 6 months? And do you want to know whether that has a negative effect on your profile? Do you want to know that?
Yeah. Let me answer that, Dipesh.
Yeah, sure, sir.
So what we are looking for is that you had 3 years of full-time experience. On top of that, if you have, you have worked for somewhere in 3 months or 6 months and you've left, that you need not worry about. That will not have any negative impact on your candidature. So as I said, that will not have any negative impact on your candidature if you left something after working for 3 months or 6 months.
So okay, so we have two more questions, sir. Are we good to answer those as well?
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So okay. So we have a question regarding the start date of the program from Hema. Can you comment on that?
Right. So as of now, the scheduled start date of the program is 6th of May 2021. Right? While the full academic calendar is yet to be put up on the website, start date is 6th of May 2021.
And Himanshu wants to know when will be the interview for round one.
Okay, so very soon we will be informing the candidates about the interview of round one. You can contact the admissions office for more details.
And Anil's question is, what is the average GMAT score for past batch? Rajesh, sir, you would like to answer that question?
We don't publish the average image scores of the past batch. But as I said, we look at your application holistically, and yeah, so that's what matters.
Yeah, I think there are many such points that are coming in terms of scores. I would like to make a very generic comment saying that it is one of the aspects. It is not the determining aspect. So you have people from GRE and GMAT, which are typically not comparable. This time it will also be from CAT. So we are not looking at these as saying that so much of score here and so much of score there is something that determines whether you can enter this program or not. It's an overall profile. Okay, so typically we want to know that you're good with your communications, you're good with your quantitative skills, analytical skills. That's what these tests actually highlight. Over and above that is your overall personality. How can you contribute to the learning sessions in the classroom? So that's where your personal interview takes over. So don't have fears relating to saying, if I get this kind of a score, will I get admission? Yes, if it's abysmally low, it's best for you to reattempt and test yourself and then come again.
Thank you, sir. So I think we have one last question here. This is, so the person has 2 years of experiences in finance firm and last 1 year in his own startup. So wants to know whether that whether that matches the requirement or not.
So I would encourage that you write to us with your background of your experience, and we should be able to give you a clear answer.
No, sir, I don't see any other questions, sir. If any of the participants have any other question, uh, you can write it in Q&A, or we will close the session, sir. Is that okay?
I'm saying I hope the participants have the email IDs as to where they can direct their questions at.
Okay, we have one question from Ajit, sir. We'd like to answer that question before we go on. So, what is the weightage of extra co-curricular activities in the application process? So, Ajit has worked with an NGO for 10 months.
So Ajit, it's important.
So Ajit, there isn't a weightage in terms of percentage. There is definitely a look in terms of how this candidate is viewed in the overall context. Koshika, you want to answer this?
Sure. So I would say, Ajit, specifically from a co-curricular activities perspective, the way Rajesh and Shekhar have been mentioning, that when you look at it, when you come to the campus, let's say if you're a candidate, so from a candidate's perspective, once you are part of the class, how you add value to the class in terms of discussions that are happening. What are the takeaways that you probably had while you were working as an NGO? If I still take your example, while you were working with an NGO, while you were engaged with an NGO, what there would be certain takeaways that you had, which in turn will benefit the cohort that you have. By cohort, I mean, your classmates. So whoever is the classmate will benefit with those interactions that you have and that you have had, and you will bring those perspectives to the class. So what matters is what matters is how much are those takeaways and experiences that you bring to the table when you join as a student, or whoever joins as a student. So there's no weightage again. It is more about the complete package. It's a package. As an individual is a package. Where do you stand in general, your intellectually? How well are you able to pick up the course? Will you be able to take the rigor? What is the information as an individual based on your experience that you bring to the class? And you will add value to the class in terms of everybody learning from you and making the overall learning a much better experience. Did I answer that? I hope I did, Ajit.
Yeah, but I'll just add one more, which probably could excite Ajit. One of the subjects that the students would be learning in term 3, which Dipesh cannot speak about right now because he's not been there, is digital in social sector. So I hope that kind of gives you a perspective as to how we are thinking.
Thank you, sir. I think it must have answered this question very nicely. So I don't think, sir, we have any more questions. So I think we can close the session now. So would you like to have any closing statements, all of you, Koshika ma'am, Rajesh sir, and Shekhar sir?
Sure. So I would like to thank each of the prospective participants to take time off to listen to our webinar today. And I hope you have a chance to reflect and think through whether this program is of potential value to you in your careers. And should you think that it is of interest and value, we encourage you to apply. And should you have any more questions, do visit our website, drop us an email, and we will be happy to answer any remaining questions that you may have. With that, thank you again. Have a good evening and stay safe. Thank you. Bye for now.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.